to talk about finances now, and then we're going to start out talking about money, since that's kind of what finances are about. You know, of all of them, probably the most powerful person on planet Earth that has never been elected to office is the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Now, that position, they make decisions on the most powerful country, at least so far, is the United States of America, on the financial aspects of what's going to be happening here, and the chair runs it. If the chair gets up and stands in front of a microphone and they sneeze, I kid you not, there will be a reaction in the stock market. The chair is going to be sick. Oh no, 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 sell, sell, sell. And over something as stupid as that, you will have an overall market reaction. The chair makes one comment. Interest rates right now are peaking. Oh, that means it won't go any higher. Oh, buy, buy, buy. And it's just one casual remark. This person can almost say nothing. Jerome Powell, pretty much, he's done an okay job. It depends what you view. They're nominated by the president for the aspect and confirmed by the Senate. So you get the political aspect over there. But the reality is they have more power in an awful lot of ways than Congress, and we'll see some of the power right here in this chapter. This is a very powerful position. So, but let's start out talking about money. Money is anything people take as payment for goods and services. Sometimes people like cash. Cash works really good. Sometimes you can barter. I've seen people before as, if you do this for me, if you do my taxes this year, I'll do your hair for free. The hair, I'll do the top end. It's a $400 value for you. But it happens all the time. So barter can be an aspect of there too. The one thing you have is you want to make sure you have counterfeit, and there's about a lot of different aspects of it. On the counterfeit bill, the newer and gray bills have all kinds of things. You can probably see it if you look closely on the PowerPoint slide here. You can see a watermark in the background over there. You can also see a strip. When you photocopy them, you'll see the actual strip show up higher than the actual on the bill, but you'll see all kinds of different things. One of the secrets of actually making the money is not so much the print, although the print is huge, but also the watermarks on it that show up. Also, the actual metal line you'll see there that actually does have some metal in it. But the biggest thing is the paper itself. The paper has a very distinguishing feature on it, and it really isn't true paper. It's more like a cloth material, a cloth paper composite, and that's what makes counterfeiting. Now, nowadays, most of us have access to some high-end printers. You can just go find a good, solid, good laser printer, and you can duplicate almost exactly what it shows up on the $100 bill. The secret, though, is you're using 8 by 10 regular paper and cutting it, and that as soon as you try to pass that off, they're going to have a couple of police officers going to put you in jail for a long time, period. Okay, and your money won't go very far. So be careful on that. Don't become a counterfeiter in the process. But for the most part, the aspect of the money itself is almost impenetrable in the process as to how you're going to go about trying to make some more on your own. Bartering, sometimes maybe somebody doesn't want to have a $400 haircut. Maybe somebody doesn't want to have a fish. Okay, so bartering has issues, but there's merit to it because you're avoiding taxes in the process. In theory, nobody uses it, but you can't take a fish and put it in your wallet very well. I guess you technically could. It would be a very interesting process, and you'd probably have a couple stains here and there in the process, and you certainly would have an awful smell in the process. So fish don't, or they're not portable, they're not divisible. I guess you could carry sushi around if you wanted to, if you have a decent sized purse. Okay, you could trade sushi if you wanted to instead of a regular fish. That's a possibility. But for the most part, money is portable, it's divisible, it's stable, it's durable, it's unique. Those are the 5 traits that I want you to know about money. We pretty much look at the aspect of money now is most of us have some type of digital payment system, and whether it's a credit card or some type of a phone app that you have, depends what you're using. Some of them are very dangerous. If you give somebody, I've seen multiple cases where somebody said, says, oh, if I use this over here, and all of a sudden you're giving a stranger your checking account number, they go and they drain the whole account, and all of a sudden says, well, what happened to my money? Well, stop giving them Zelle, and maybe that may keep your money longer. Okay, so be careful about digital transfers, because as soon as you give them access, they might have more access than you realize in the process. So electronic money is cute, but be careful in the aspect of it. C-Note is the most published bill out there. It's the most valuable commodity on planet Earth. you'll see a lot of foreign trade. If you wave a US $100 bill, miraculous things will happen. If it costs $200 for the equivalent in the European pounds or Egyptian pounds, so to speak, if you wave an American $100 bill, miraculously the price will drop to that $100 American bill. It is the most sought after commodity on planet Earth, which is kind of a nice thing to have because it's American. But paper currency, it's a big thing. It also by using straight money, it's even easier than crypto, although crypto you can transfer stuff really well, but a lot of people prefer cash, and that way it's almost trackless in the process. So be careful as to how it's used, except for the fact it speaks an awful lot. There's three different things when you read up anything in the aspect of what it takes the money. You'll see comments in The Economist, you'll see comments in Motley Fool, you'll see different things out there, especially in the Wall Street Journal. You'll see a commentary say M1. M1 is money that can be accessed very quickly, such as coins, paper money, traveler's checks. It's instant liquid money. We call that M1. Then you have M2, which is everything in M1, plus a little things, things that like your savings account and mutual funds, you can get them, but you don't have instant access. You can probably get in your phone and go click, 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 and a matter of transfer some funds, but it's not instant like money itself. Okay, so we call that M2. And then M3 is even slower than M2. It's all of M2 plus big deposits like institutional money market funds. So M1 is super liquid, then M2 is not quite as liquid, and M3 is even not quite as liquid as that. New money, you'll see this is from 2020, which is the most recent I can get. You'll see the dollar bills out there. You'll see also the aspect of the billions of dollars. Look at the hundreds out there. They're one of the giant ones in the process. You'll see a lot of different things. How long does it last? This is more for just general education. You'll see the $100 bill. A lot of times people take it and stuff it in the back corner of the wall and they hide it and they have it for emergency money, which is a pretty good strategy sometimes. The $100 bills last longer and don't get traded as often. You'll see the dollar bill, it lasts about 6 years, 5.8 years overall. The US prints over almost 25 million bills a day. Okay, I wish I had a job to inspect them and spend them to see if they spend properly, and they applied for that, they wouldn't hire me for it. So anyway, 95% of all newly minted money was printed to replace bills that are overseas, which is a big deal. So you'll see money coming in and replacing old for new. A couple things that you should just generally know about money. The ridges on the coins on the outside, that's to prevent counterfeiting. And a lot of times we make currency, it costs more money to make the currency than it does to actually the face value of it. A penny costs 1.5 cents. I don't know how you can make 1 cent cost a dollar 1.5 cents, but it doesn't make much sense to me that you're paying more cents for the cents on the cent. So anyway, that being said, a nickel costs 7 cents to make. So if you want to have fun, there's a tracking site called Where's George, and the most trafficked bill was traveled over 14,800 miles in 12 years. Just one of those weird facts. If you like to collect those inside your head, I have a tendency to do that. So inflation, here's probably the single best way to understand inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods. When we print too much money, okay, and you have all this money, it's a matter of you got all this money out over there, the value of the money declines overall. So inflation, in other words, you need more bills to make the same value. Inflation destroys economies. Right now, some of the countries in our hemisphere, you have over 1,000% inflation. In other words, if you walked into a store today, you paid $1 for a loaf of bread, you come back in a year, you're going to pay $1,000 for exactly that same loaf of bread. That's a lot of dough. So be careful in the process as to too much money chasing too few goods. Sometimes you get this weird thing, and it's relatively rare. We've had it here in the last 12 years more than I've ever seen. Literally, I've never seen it before. Deflation where prices are going down because of the fact there's not enough goods in the market. It's a kind of a strange thing where deflation happens and all of a sudden the goods, because of the fact that money is actually decreasing in value overall. So the same goods, you can buy more of them. Now I've seen it twice, and it's really strange times in the market. People are playing too much with the money, especially during the pandemic when the federal government zealously inflated the overall economy. They pumped in 40% more cash money into the economy. You don't do that without having mass inflation, which is exactly what happened. It doesn't happen overnight, it happens over a multi-month period. And it was one of the most poorly run, mismanaged aspects I've ever seen of any kind of money handling. Gee, if you put more money economy, what happens? Oh, you have inflation. It doesn't take rocket science. Take this class, I'll tell you. Too much money chasing too few goods. The size of the money supply, when Congress tried to increase the money supply, all of a sudden we had a problem. You also had the global money supply is controlled by central banks. You and I have no say into what the Federal Reserve is going to do. So that they say, we're going to raise the rates overall. Okay, tell me how you voted for that. You never voted for these people. These are people that sat down there and they interviewed for a job and they got the job and the Senate awarded it to them. And by the time it was all done, you and I had no say into it. So the most elected person, the most powerful person in the United States on financial affairs is the chair of the Federal Reserve. You and I had no input whatsoever as to who that person should be or to confirm whether or not they should be there. So know the 5 uses of money, know about those counter protections, know about inflation, what that definition is, too much money chasing too few goods, and deflation, and the overall money supply is going to have a big effect on you and your future. Too much money out over there, the price of houses skyrockets because of inflation. That's going to have an impact long term on you. Too much money out there, even on a loaf of bread, can set down and be disastrous because too much money raises prices through inflation. Money. It is the root of what runs most economies on planet Earth. Take care.